I just finished watching the Tinder Swindler documentary on Netflix. What a crazy story about a wildly effective con artist, Simon Leviev. This guy used Tinder to access the hearts of many women and then con them out of money, like to the tune of $10 million over the course of like the last 10 years, I guess. I mean, it's a wild story. And so today I want to answer the question, what makes this guy tick? 2, why did these women buy into this con? And then 3, could it happen to you? So first, diagnosing Simon Leviev or Simon Hayut or whatever, whatever his real name is, diagnosing him. There's 2 things that stick out. The first is this need for attention, this need for the jet-setting lifestyle, fancy clothes, fancy cars, fancy women, fancy jets, right? This sort of, he needs to be in the spotlight. Definitely puts him in the narcissistic category. But that on its own, I don't think is sufficient. There's a couple other things that the documentary reveals. The first is when he thinks he's getting caught, he doesn't do a good job of pulling back on his spending, right? He keeps twisting and turning and finding more ways to burn money. It's because he thinks he deserves to have those riches, that wealth. There's this grandiosity about him. In the same way, when he thinks he's being caught, he doesn't stop interacting with the women, right? You would think he'd be risk averse enough to sort of disconnect himself, decouple himself, but he doesn't. He keeps engaging with them because he's a narcissist, he believes it's going to work out for him because he deserves it. There's this delusion of grandeur. The second thing is he's never really connected to these women. If you ask the women, they say, we're in love, he was so charming. But if you look at how he was charming, it was red flowers, fancy dinners, sort of superficial platitudes about how he wants them to be his wife or he wants to have kids with them. Or he is saying all of the things that you could read in a basic romantic novel, right? He's acting as if he's engaged with them, but I don't think he really shows true connection. There's zero depth to any of his communication. So there's this inability to connect. There's this clear sort of need for attention, and there's this delusion that he is more important than anybody else in the world. That, I think, puts him in the narcissistic bucket. And then on the other side, you have this callousness, this comfort breaking the law, this constant deceit, complete lack of empathy, just destroying people's lives without any concern. Comes across as arrogant, comes across as just totally unwilling to follow any kind of rule or guideline, just breaks the law repeatedly, absolutely fits the diagnostic criteria for antisocial. So in Simon's case, you have the lack of concern for others, the lack of concern for what's right and wrong, and you have this delusion of grandeur together, and that's what makes this absolute monster of a con artist. So how did he do it? If you take a step back away from the destruction and trauma he caused and just look at Simon's behavior, it's interesting and impressive to see how well he used psychological principles to influence and manipulate these women. There's 4 sort of tactics. The first is he played into their fantasy. These women were on Tinder because they wanted Prince Charming, so he acted like Prince Charming. He showered them with gifts, showered them with attention, showered them with money, just sort of played the part, said all the right things. I want to marry you. I want to have kids with you. We're going to move in together. Like, it was all this sort of intensity of the relationship, fit their fantasy. And these women wanted it to be true. They wanted desperately for it to be true. So much so that they allowed platitudes to maneuver them. The second thing is he added an element of danger.
In the middle of the night, I get a picture of Peter, Simon's bodyguard. Simon is writing, "Peter hurt," and I'm like, what the fuck? He just says that they were going after me. Thank God for Peter. If not, I would have been dead.
By adding that element of danger, he was able to use the psychological principle of scarcity. So think about when you're shopping for anything. If you're shopping for a car and it's the last car of that kind on the lot, you're more likely to make the purchase. If you're shopping for shoes and it's the last pair in your size, you're more likely to make the purchase. And by Simon having this element of danger, he was able to put the relationship at risk. I want to be with you, but my enemies are chasing me, and I need you to save us, right? That the fact that the relationship was at risk, that he couldn't be with these women fully until they gave him money, led them to want the relationship even more. The third thing he did was he showered them with gifts, which served 2 purposes. The first, certainly, by giving them gifts and by showing his wealth, Simon was able to demonstrate that he could pay them back, certainly. But it also led to this idea of reciprocity. If someone gives something to you, your like psychological need is then to return the favor. And so when Simon showered them with gifts, said, I want to move into a big apartment with you, when he paid them more than he should have, they wanted to pay it back. And so when he asked for money, they were willing to take out loans to give him that money. And the last thing he did was be very intentional about surrounding himself with an entourage of people, business associates, bodyguards, the wife of his son, friends on social media and in person. He was constantly with other people. And those people served as social proof that he was who he said he was. Like imagine if you're going to lunch. Are you going to go to lunch at the place that has a huge line out the door or the place right next door that has no one in there, right? We look at all those people and we go, well, if they're all waiting in line, the food must be better there. And it's the same thing. That social proof is what Simon used to prove, hey, I must be a great guy. You can trust me. So when you think about these principles being used in tandem so effectively, it's no surprise that the women fell prey. And the question everybody asks when watching the documentary is, would I have fallen prey? And I thought a lot about sort of teasing out what led some women to fall prey, whereas some women didn't. And I think the differentiator is how much the women wanted the relationship to work. In the case of the documentary, every woman was desperate for the relationship to work. They wanted that Prince Charming, or they wanted the jet-setting lifestyle. So they were willing to do whatever it took, even turning a blind eye to major red flags. They were so invested in him and this lifestyle. I imagine women that have other things going on that would have made the relationship less important would have been much quicker to tell him to kick rocks and move on. That's my guess. But I'm curious what you think. Was this a master con that anybody could have fallen prey to, or were these women particularly susceptible? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you for watching. If you liked it, please hit the like button, subscribe, all those things. I'll link a cool video here, which the YouTube algorithm says that you're going to like. Or you can check out my new channel over here, which is about psychology in general. Different format than this, but I think you'll find it interesting. Check it out. All right, thanks for watching.